Trampolines. So this is the Tay-Tub 16-foot trampoline that you can purchase on Amazon. And I wasn't sure about purchasing a trampoline on Amazon, but well, let's just get into this here. So I had to cut some branches down initially just to make room for this because this is a big trampoline. It's 16 feet in diameter. This thing did need a little bit of space. I did draw out a circle where it was going to go. I had this space on the other side of the wall. They do include all the hardware that you need, the bolts, the nuts, everything inside the packaging. I do recommend that you just pull all these things out of this packaging. It was kind of a pain to try to do it as I went. It gets delivered in 3 boxes, so make sure you do get all 3 boxes. The first step here was to lay out the frame. And these pieces, they only go one way. And as you lay them out, they're going to be every other piece, one with legs, one without, one with legs, one without. So just kind of pay attention to that as you're laying them out. And I did reference the manual quite a bit. I just thought initially, I was like, well, I can put this together and figure it out. But there's definitely specific ways that these legs and whole frame go together. And at the end of the day, you want it to be super strong and sturdy as you're putting this thing together. I found it pretty easy just to go through and lay out all the pieces for the legs and the outer frame of the trampoline itself before starting to assemble it. And then as I'm assembling it, I did notice that there were certain holes on one side or the other. So I did reference the instruction manual again, and it is important that those holes face certain directions. So as you're putting this thing together, make sure that you are paying attention to which way the little holes on the legs are facing, or you're gonna have a really hard time trying to adjust them after the fact. There were a couple that I had to slightly adjust to get them squared up because it's not gonna go together well unless those things are squared up. Had my nephew John helping me out with this here. He's actually a really good trampolinist, flipper. You saw him at the beginning of the video. I have some clips at the end of the video as well too, so stay tuned for that because I've got him and my niece Anna as well doing some fun tricks together. So be sure to see them here at the end of this video. But I just kept going around here, putting this thing together. It does go together pretty easily. You got an Allen wrench and another regular wrench, and then you do have some Phillips head screws as well. Then here we're pulling the mat out. So the mat is actually what holds this thing all together. So the outer frame is just held together with tension. And that's my father-in-law out there helping us as well. Now, it does help to have a few extra hands. I certainly could have put it together myself, but it was definitely nice to have the extra hands. They do provide you with a spring pull, and you'll see here in just a second another method for pulling these springs tight. But I was just kind of lining this up to where I thought it should go, so I was just counting them out. Because what you want to do is you want to go around and not just start on one side and go all the way around. You want to put one on one side, one on another side, one on another side, and kind of go around in a pattern so that you're not overly stretching one side of the trampoline more than the other. It's going to go on easier, and it's going to put less strain unnecessarily on the trampoline mat itself. So as you can see here, we've just got, every 6th rung, we've got a spring in it, and that just helps even out all of the pressure going around. And from there, all we had to do was simply go through and clip in all the other springs. Notice here that while you can use the spring pull that they do include, this is another cool trick that I learned a long time ago where you can just use another spring to pull the spring closed. And it's cool because you got double spring action, and it makes it really easy to pull it without a ton of strength. So here we are just finishing up the last bit of springs coming around, and everything went together great. And of course, John had to get on it and test it out right away just to see how it felt because, at that point, it basically was a functional trampoline with the exception of the mat and the net around it, which are very essential for safety. So the next step here was to put the blue padding around the outside of the springs. This not only protects the springs, but it also protects kids and their feet, and making sure that you're not putting your feet and stuff through the springs. Once the mat was on, it was a matter of going through and just putting these pulls on. This was a little bit time consuming for sure, because you've got the bolt, the nut, there's a top and a bottom, and this is where it was important to have those holes lined up so that you could pass the bolts directly through both poles and secure them. Now, one other side note here, notice the basketball hoop backboard is setting on the trampoline at this point. I did not realize that the basketball hoop only goes on one pole. All the other poles have the foam padding on it, and here I'm actually putting the basketball hoop on one pole, and then I end up having to move it over to the other. So don't make that mistake. Read the directions. Make sure that you do follow those, because that basketball goes on a different pole, and the pole itself is connected to the legs a little bit differently than the rest of them are. At this point here, just going around putting the net up. Now they have a kind of a slip ring thing for the top part of the net there, and that was really difficult to work with. So a lot of those I just ended up tying off on the top tightly, and that worked just as well because I had some of those come undone. Now this part did help to have two people going through here. You're basically going to take the rope that's included with the trampoline, and you're going to thread the spring rungs and the base of the net. And you want to take your time doing this because this will determine how long your net and everything is going to last, depending on how well you have this secured down there. And it's a matter of safety. So definitely make sure that that is nice and tight. And there it is. We had a fully assembled trampoline with the net and the basketball hoop. And I don't know, I think at this point we are good to test it out. This thing has a weight rating of 1,000 pounds. The capacity is 4 to 6 kids, they say, and the single user weight maximum, they say, is 375 pounds. But it is a big trampoline, can hold lots of kids, and John could not wait to get up here and start doing his flips and tricks on it. Now, there are safety and warning things on there, just so you guys know, saying not to do flips, but all trampolines include those safety warnings and stuff. So here John goes.